Malaysia ready to facilitate Cambodia-Thailand border talks. United Nations demands withdrawal of US sanctions on ICC judges. Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today and my name is Daryl Baptist. His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim, King of Malaysia, and Her Majesty the Queen, Raja Zarith Sophia, have extended Hari Raya Aidil-Adha greetings to all Muslims in the country. Their Majesties also expressed hope that the sacrificial rites or ibadah korban would be carried out well and be blessed and accepted by God. In a post on the official Facebook page of Sultan Ibrahim, Sultan Iskandar, their Majesties also express hope that the spirit of sacrifice continues to unite the people in harmony, compassion and universal human values. Sultan Ibrahim and Raja Zarith Sophia also prayed for the safety and well-being of Malaysian pilgrims in the Holy Land for their pilgrimage to be accepted as Hajj Mabrur. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim highlighted that the nobility and spirit of Aidil-Adha are inseparable from the inspiring story of Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail. This is manifested through the sacrifice made in obedience to the command of Allah. Aside from the lesson of a father's and prophet's sacrifice, the story of Prophet Ibrahim is also rich with the prophetic legacy of a warrior who brought a message of wisdom. In commemorating Aidil-Adha, the Premier also emphasized efforts to help the people of Palestine in Gaza who are gripped by suffering and are sacrificing to defend their city and territories. In a Facebook post, he also prayed that all Muslims in Malaysia and Malaysian Hajj pilgrims be granted good health and strength to face future challenges. Huge crowds of pilgrims stoned the devil in the last major ritual of the Hajj pilgrimage as Muslims worldwide commemorating the onset of the Aidil-Adha holiday. Starting before dawn, 1.6 million plus pilgrims began throwing stones at three giant concrete walls symbolizing the devil at the Jamarat complex near the holy city of Makkah. Saudi officials have revamped Jamarat, building concrete walkways and bridges after a 2015 stampede left 2,300 people dead, the Hajj's worst tragedy. The complex was operating at full capacity, handling up to 300,000 pilgrims an hour. Saudi officials also cracked down hard to prevent unauthorized pilgrims who lack access to amenities such as air-conditioned tents and made up the bulk of the victims last year. This Hajj season has recorded the lowest number of pilgrims in over 3 decades, barring the years of COVID restrictions from 2020 to 2022. Malaysia is ready to help facilitate peaceful negotiations between Cambodia and Thailand over their ongoing border dispute. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said he had spoken with both Cambodian Prime Minister Han Manet and Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, who informed him that their respective governments had agreed to hold talks on the 14th of June regarding the issue. The Premier said that Malaysia, as the chair of ASEAN, is prepared to follow the developments of the negotiations between Thailand and Cambodia, in addition to providing the cooperation required in the talks.
Mengenai Kemboja dengan Thailand, saya bercakap dengan kedua-dua Perdana Menteri. Mereka telah pun ambil beberapa langkah yang kita sokong, iaitu undingan pada 14 hari bulan mengenai sempadan Kemboja dan Thailand.
The meeting is expected to be a crucial step towards a peaceful long-term resolution between the two neighbouring countries. Datuk Seri Anwar also emphasised the importance of Malaysia being a full partner in ASEAN dialogues and expressed concern over the ongoing issue between the two countries. In a related development, Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra stated that she has engaged in discussions regarding the Thai-Cambodia border situation with Malaysian Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim during a phone call yesterday. She said Datuk Seri Anwar has expressed readiness to assist both sides in resolving the dispute. Paetongtarn stated that she reiterated Thailand's dedication to achieving a peaceful resolution via established bilateral mechanisms while ensuring the protection of its sovereignty in line with international law. Earlier, Paetongtarn, after chairing the National Security Council meeting, announced that Thailand had established a special task force to address security concerns along its border with Cambodia.
การเจรจาและกองทัพก็ออกมายืนยันแล้วว่าตอนนี้เหตุการณ์ทุกอย่างก็เตรียมพร้อมทุกรูปแบบสำหรับการสถานการณ์ทุกๆสถานการณ์ซึ่งกองทัพเองเนี่ยทราบอยู่แล้วว่าเหตุการณ์หน้างานเนี่ยเป็นยังไงแล้วก็มันต้องปะทะหรือยังนะคะอันนี้ก็เป็นการตัดสินใจของกองทัพที่เราก็ให้ที่หน้างานเนี่ยต้องดูเลยว่ามันต้องปะทะหรือเปล่าแต่ถ้าไม่จำเป็นต้องปะทะเนี่ยการที่เราจะปะทะไปเนี่ยมันเกิดความเสียหายมากกว่าแรงเชียร์ที่จะให้เกิดการปะทะคือตรงนั้นเนี่ยมันต้องใช้สันติวิธีให้ได้มากที่สุดซึ่งตอน
Thailand and Cambodia had for days exchanged carefully worded statements committing to dialogue after a brief skirmish in an undemarcated border area on the 28th of May. The United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has demanded the United States to lift sanctions it imposed on 4 International Criminal Court or ICC judges, saying they were contrary to the rule of law. Turk said in a statement that he was profoundly disturbed by the decision of the US government to sanction the judges. He called for the prompt reconsideration and withdrawal of the latest measures. He further noted that attacks against judges for performance of their judicial functions at national or international levels run directly counter to respect for the rule of law and the equal protection of the law. Turk said such attacks are deeply corrosive of good governance and the due administration of justice. The US on Thursday imposed sanctions on 4 ICC judges. 2 of the targeted judges, Betty Hohler of Slovenia and Renee Alapini Gansu of Benin, took part in proceedings that led to an arrest warrant issued last November for Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu. The 2 other judges, Luz del Carmen Ibanez Carranza of Peru and Solomi Balungi Bosa of Uganda, were part of the court proceedings that led to the authorization of an investigation into allegations that US forces committed war crimes during the war in Afghanistan. Israel has warned that it would keep striking Lebanon until Hezbollah has been disarmed after hitting South Beirut in what Lebanese leaders called a major violation of a November ceasefire. The attacks came after an Israeli evacuation call on the eve of Eid al-Adha and sent huge numbers of residents of Beirut's southern suburbs fleeing. It was the 4th and heaviest Israeli bombardment of the heavily populated area in the 6 months since a ceasefire deal aimed at ending hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah. The state-run national news agency reported around a dozen strikes, while the health ministry said several people were wounded by flying glass. A Hezbollah statement said a preliminary assessment showed 9 buildings were completely destroyed and dozens of others damaged. The Lebanese army said it attempted to go to one of the sites, but Israeli warning shots prevented it from carrying out its mission. The army, which has been dismantling Hezbollah infrastructure under the truce, said the Israeli military's ongoing violations and refusal to cooperate with the ceasefire monitoring mechanism could prompt the Lebanese army to freeze cooperation on site inspections. Still ahead, Bangladesh plans national elections in April next year. Bangladesh will hold its next national elections in the first half of April next year. Its interim leader, Muhammad Yunus, said the core mandate of his administration was centered on reforms, justice, and the restoration of democracy through elections. He added that the country's election commission would announce a detailed roadmap in due course. He said one of the biggest responsibilities of the government is to ensure a transparent and widely participatory election so that the country does not fall into a new phase of crisis, stressing that institutional reform remained a top priority. Muhammad Yunus' statement comes amid increasing pressure from political parties, particularly the main opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which has demanded elections be held by December this year. Muhammad Yunus has led the caretaker administration since the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who fled to India following a student-led uprising in August last year. The interim government was established amid calls for institutional reforms and greater accountability following years of political unrest. US President Donald Trump said that Chinese President Xi Jinping has agreed to let rare earth minerals and magnets flow to the United States, a move that could lower tensions between the world's biggest economies.
We had a very good talk. I talked to President Xi for, I guess, more than 2 hours. We had a very good talk. It's a complicated deal, but it's a deal that's, bring us a lot of money and a lot of everything else. And we get along very well with President Xi and with China.
Trump's comment came one day after a rare call with Xi aimed at resolving trade tensions that have been brewing over the topic for weeks. At that time, Trump said there had been a very positive conclusion to the talks, adding that there should no longer be any questions respecting the complexity of rare earth products. Trump and Xi agreed to visit one another and asked their staffs to hold talks in the meantime. 3 of President Trump's top aides will face their Chinese counterparts in London on Monday for talks to resolve the trade dispute. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and Trade Representative Jameson Greer will represent Washington in the talks. It was not immediately made clear, however, who would represent China. On a related note, South Korea's new leader, Lee Jae-myung, and President Trump have agreed in a phone call to work towards a tariff deal as the deadline approaches to avoid punishing U.S. levies. Lee won a thumping victory in South Korea's election this week after months of political turmoil in Asia's 4th largest economy. Seoul was hit in April with a 25% tariff by the United States as part of Trump's sweeping global duties, before country-specific rates were put on hold for 90 days. According to Lee's office, in a call between the two leaders, they agreed to work towards a mutually satisfactory agreement on bilateral tariff negotiations. To that end, they agreed to encourage working-level negotiations to yield tangible results. During the phone call with Trump, Lee emphasized the importance of the South Korea-US alliance as the foundation of the country's diplomacy. Both leaders also praised each other's leadership and affirmed their commitment to strengthening the alliance through close cooperation. The allies signed a new 5-year agreement last year on sharing the cost of stationing U.S. troops in South Korea, with Seoul agreeing to raise its contribution by 8.3% to $1.1 billion for the next year. In another development, Trump said he has no plans to speak with Elon Musk, signaling the president and his former ally might not resolve their feud over a sweeping tax cut bill anytime soon.
Honestly, I've been so busy working on China, working on Russia, working on Iran, working on so many that I'm not thinking about Elon. I just wish him well.
He added he would look at everything when asked whether he would consider cutting government contracts held by billionaire Elon Musk. Trump also suggested he would terminate government contracts with Musk's businesses, which include rocket company, SpaceX, and its satellite unit, Starlink. On a different note concerning the appointment of the next chair of the Federal Reserve, Trump stated that an announcement will be made soon, further noting that an effective Fed chair would reduce interest rates. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's recent phone call with Chinese Premier Li Qiang marked the beginning of a process to recalibrate the relationship with China, a country which Canada has had chilly ties for years. China is the second largest trading partner of Canada, and Canada seeks to resolve outstanding trade conflict with China.
We have a number of trade disputes with China. Farmers across this country, fishers across this country are being affected by Chinese tariffs. People across this country have been affected by fentanyl and its precursors. Those are issues I raised directly, and we spoke at length about our concerns there, and have initiated processes, including ministerial level dialogue on trade and other issues. So there are important issues with China that we need to address.
Based on a statement from China, China is willing to work with Canada on the basis of equality and respect, seek common ground, and find ways to properly address each other's concerns. Next up in sports, 3 national doubles pairs advance into Indonesia Open semis. We begin our sports segment with smashing news in badminton. National men's doubles pair Man Wei Chong and T Kai Wun are now just 1 win away from reaching their 3rd consecutive final at Istora Senayan. They had no trouble beating Indian pair Satwik Sairaj Rakin Reddy and Chirag Shetty to make it through to the semi-finals of the Indonesian Open. The world number 7 were runners-up at the Super 1000 event last year and lifted the Super 500 Indonesia Masters title at the same venue in January. Yesterday, Wei Chong and Kai Wun produced a commanding performance to stun world number 22, Satwik Sairaj and Chirag 21-19, 21-16 in just 43 minutes, their first win over the Indian pair in 5 meetings. Next up, Wei Chong and Kai Wun will play home pair Sabah Karyaman, Gautama and More Reza Pahlavi Isfahani. National women's doubles pair Pearly Tan and M. Tina also stormed into the semi-finals after sweeping aside Japan's Rin Iwanaga and Ki Nakanishi. The world number 4 blew away the Japanese world number 5 duo 21-6, 21-18 in just 37 minutes in their quarter-final clash. Iwanaga and Nakanishi had arrived in Jakarta riding a high after finishing runners-up at the Singapore Open last week, but were no match for the in-form Malaysians. Pearly and M. Tina will meet China's Li Yijing and Luo Zhumin in the next round. Meanwhile, national mixed doubles pair Chen Tangji and To Yi-wei lived up to their second seedings when they bounced back from a game down to power into the semi-finals. The Malaysians needed 54 minutes to overcome 5th-seeded Danes Jasper Toft and Amali Mageland 17-21, 21-16, 21-14. Their reward is a last 4 showdown against 6 seeds Dechapol Puavaranukro and Supisara Piao Sampran from Thailand. Moving on to tennis, Jannik Sinner battled past Novak Djokovic in a gripping French Open semi-final to book a first Grand Slam final meeting with reigning champion Carlos Alcaraz. In an earlier match, Alcaraz reached back-to-back French Open finals after Italian 8th seed Lorenzo Musetti retired with injury while trailing 4-6, 7-6, 6-love, 2-love. Musetti twice denied Alcaraz the chance to break in the opening 9 games before the 23-year-old suddenly dialed up the intensity and snatched the opening set when his Spanish opponent produced errors in a poor service game. A frustrated Alcaraz kicked his bench during the second set, but finally found a way through Musetti's dodged defense to draw level after a tiebreak and then produced a dazzling display of power and precision to dish out a bagel in the third set. Musetti, who appeared to be hampered by a left thigh issue midway through the third set, threw in the towel after 2 games in the fourth. Alcaraz is attempting to become only the 3rd man to retain his Roland Garros title this century after Rafael Nadal and Gustavo Kuerten. In football, Norway stunned Italy with a 3-0 win, handing the visitors a humiliating start to their World Cup qualifying campaign. The soaking wet home crowd had reason to cheer after 14 minutes when Alexander Sørloth timed his run perfectly onto a through ball from Antonio Nusa and slotted it home from close range. Nusa lit up the night with a moment of brilliance after 34 minutes, controlling a pass with a slick first touch, bursting past 2 Italian defenders with a dazzling run and drilling it from the edge of the box. Sørloth came close again just after the half-an-hour mark, slipping past Alessandro Bastoni on the right side of the box, but keeper Gianluigi Donnarumma reacted sharply to block a low, sneaky attempt at the near post. The first half rout continued when another through ball from Martin Odegaard found an unmarked Erling Haaland, who rounded Donnarumma to score Norway's 3rd just before the break. The continued pouring rain cooled the match down in the second half, with Norway coming closest with Sander Berge sending a screamer into the post just after the hour mark, but no more goals were scored. In Group I, Norway lead the standings with 9 points after 3 matches. Italy were playing their first match in the qualifying campaign. Coming up in our offbeat segment, Colombian village turns street into giant slide. A town in northern Colombia transformed one of its main streets into a giant slide recently, providing a thrill for both locals and visitors. Bucaramanga, a town with some 6,000 residents, located in the north de Santander region, has created a space in the annual calendar when residents get together to set up a giant slide to attract visitors and send the world a more positive image of the region. North de Santander previously made headlines due to the violent conflict affecting the Catatumbo region between the National Liberation Army and dissent factions of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia.
Para que se coloque en el mapa y sea reconocido a nivel nacional y, si es posible, a nivel mundial.
The event, which featured a motorcade, started last year as a campaign promise from Mayor Oscar Perez to amuse residents. Eventually, with the support of local media influencers who came to visit the attraction, it became popular beyond their regional borders. With Season 3 just around the corner, fans of hit Netflix show Squid Game have the chance to try their luck in an immersive experience, which organizers say will plunge players into the heart of the drama. Squid Game The Experience, which opened its doors at Convention Centre Excel, London, sees teams take on 5 challenges inspired by the nail-biting tasks seen on the show. Challenges include red light, green light, played under the watchful eye of Yang Hee, an innocent-looking robotic doll who has a deadly role in the South Korean-made television series. There is also a nerve-wracking round called Glass Bridge, where players must recall a 6-square sequence by jumping on the correctly lit squares.
This is Squid Game the experience. This is the opportunity to go into the world of Squid Game and play the games that you've seen on the TV show for yourself this time. Hopefully not getting shot, but winning points and battling against your mates.
Following runs in New York, Sydney, Seoul and Madrid, the London leg of Squid Game The Experience is on until September. Squid Game premiered in 2021 and quickly became Netflix's most popular title ever. Its third and final season is set to launch on the 27th of June. Children soar through the air on silks and hoops at Kenya's National Theatre, but the aerial display carries a serious message about climate change. Urembo, the not-so-beautiful show, Kenya's first aerial arts competition for young performers, tackles environmental issues through choreographed routines. Christine Masenga, a Congolese aerialist who founded the event, said she wanted children to understand global warming. Masenga, who came to Nairobi to study medicine but discovered acrobatics instead, runs Biso Learning, which teaches aerial skills in local schools.
And we reinvent the future, because only artists have that power. Government is...
And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, Malaysia ready to facilitate Cambodia-Thailand border talks. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Till then, my name is Daryl Baptist. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching and a happy Eid al-Adha. Good day.